I'm Deana.
And I'm Suzanne, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Rise and Shine It's Hypnotime podcast.
With Deana and Suzanne.
That's us.
The purpose of this podcast is to help you along your healing journey, to become the very best version of you that you can be, and to create the life of your dreams. We want to give you the tools you need to succeed through personal stories, guided meditations, hypnosis, NLP, and self-hypnosis techniques, as well as interviews with experts in a variety of healing modalities, from energy workers and spiritual healers to chiropractors, acupuncturists, holistic medicine, and much, much more.
Yes, and we also want this podcast to be a place where people can come together, share stories, and be reminded that you're not alone. In fact, the healing journey is a lifelong journey, and we are just so thankful that you're choosing us to be a part of your journey and that we have you to be a part of ours as well. And with that being said, let's start the show.
I'm ready when you are.
Hi. Hi, everyone. We're so excited because today we've got a solo episode for you, and it's been a while since we've been able to do that.
Right. Our first episode was launched on February 22nd, 2022, on a Tuesday at 2:22 a.m. in the morning.
From the two of us.
From the two of us. That's right. That's right.
But Deana has actually been gone for a week on vacation. So first of all, I missed you so much, and I'm so glad you're back.
Thanks.
But second of all, she's here to share her story with us, and not just about the fun times they had on their trip, but also some healing and wisdom and insight that she gained while she was there. So
yeah, it was an interesting trip. Right before we had planned this trip, several months back. Mm-hmm. And for the last 7 years, I've basically went back to Utah. I am from Utah originally. I was born there. And all of our family moved here about 51 years ago. And the ocean and the beaches and the sunshine, it just kept us here. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate the vastness of the ocean and the depth of the water and the creation of it all. It's very spiritual. But also going back to the mountains is very spiritual for me. It's something about the creation of the mountains, driving through the mountains. It's majestic. It's almost like you can see that the hand of God had something to do with the way the terrain looks and the way that everything presents itself.
And I think it's interesting as far as healing goes, because when you think your problems are just so big and then you see the vastness of the mountains and the canyons, it really kind of puts things in perspective.
You're right, it does. Right before I left, I had an event take place that made me step back. It made me breathe deep, and it hurt my heart and it hurt my spirit, and it was probably one of the more disappointing experiences I've had. But it doesn't matter whether or not you're healthy or whether or not you're grounded or balanced. It doesn't matter how much you work on yourself, or if you don't work on yourself at all and you're constantly struggling. Things affect us that take place in our life. We all experience trials and tribulation, disappointments and heartbreak.
Things that catch you off guard.
Exactly, that make you literally step back and take a deep breath and wonder, what happened and why. And I know that anytime your heart gets broken, that you actually experience on some level a broken heart. That your heart literally pounds bigger, and it can create a lack of rhythm to your heart. And it does hurt, and it can even cause a swelling, that you have that kind of fight or flight cortisol that runs through your body. And it happens, when you're hurt or disappointed too. And so this trip became especially important for me because going through the canyons and experiencing the earth and all of God's creations and being with somebody who I don't have to try and prove anything to, that I know that they love me unconditionally, that they want me there in their life, and I'm not spending my time trying to earn that, is very, very healing and very helpful. And so when you combine the terrain with the family and with the unconditional love, it just sets you up to be able to experience some true peace and happiness and healing in your life. And sometimes we have to create this for ourselves.
Right. That's so true.
It doesn't matter how healthy you are. It doesn't matter, how much you do self-work. It doesn't matter how balanced. It doesn't matter how perfect you think your life might be. These things will always take place. At one time or another, something's going to set you back in your seat, or something's going to hurt your heart or disappoint you on a deep level, and there's not going to be answers. And I did find, and I do find, that a lot of times we always ask why, but it's not like we're ever going to find comfort from the answer. I mean,
Right.
what if somebody fell in love with somebody else? Is it going to make me feel any better? Or what if somebody just doesn't care? Is that going to make me feel any better? What if I'm just not valuable? There's just too many whys or what ifs, and that isn't the point. The point is, it doesn't matter why. If something isn't working, it's probably not right.
Yeah, and you see that so much when people go through breakups or heartaches. You're, researching and digging for answers and trying to figure out what went wrong and why. But truly, at the end of it, it never makes you feel better. It usually makes you feel worse.
Right, because the answer is never, what you want it to be anyway. So I think one of the most important things that we can do, first of all, is recognize that when something happens in our life that causes heartbreak or pain, the answer to why doesn't really matter, because none of it will probably give you any comfort. The truth of it is that it doesn't matter why. If it just isn't right, it isn't right. And being able to accept that and recognize that if it's not right, you don't want it in your life.
Right.
You don't want to try and make something happen that isn't supposed to happen. You don't want to try and earn love from somebody who doesn't love you. You don't want to try and prove your value or worth if somebody doesn't see it. The real answer is that you need to associate with somebody who does.
Right. And when you remove that toxicity from your life, you can attract someone in that will love you for who you are, and that's what's important.
Right. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Leo Buscaglia, but he wrote the Book of Love, and he had more definitions and more descriptions and more ways of representing love than most people. So he was kind of considered the authority on it. And I remember one of the stories I was reading in his book, it said, if you're a piece of fruit, like say my favorite fruit is pineapple, and I love juicy pineapple, and it just makes me feel good. And I meet somebody who loves cantaloupes. They love cantaloupes, and I become the very best cantaloupe a pineapple can be. I'm almost a little orange, and I almost have the same texture, and I'm everything that I can be for, being a pineapple. And that person may really appreciate you because you're making so much effort, and you are almost who or what they want. You are doing the things that attract them, and you're trying to become what you think they're looking for. But the truth is, he loves cantaloupes.
Yeah. And you're not doing yourself any justice that way either.
And I'm a pineapple. So why not find somebody who loves pineapple and let him go find his cantaloupe, you know?
I love it.
Anyway, so the point of this trip became as much about family and seeing my brother. My brother lives up there, and I don't see him very often. I have cousins up there, and I'm very connected to family. Family's the most important thing that there is in this world to me. And I remember one time reading about a hospice nurse who was taking care of patients for like 40 years, and she started writing down what was important to them, what was the most valuable thing for them in their lives, and what they connected to the most. And the majority, 90-something percent, 97% of the people who were passing away never said, it's the diploma on my wall, or it's the Rolls Royce in my driveway, or it's my 12-bedroom home, or, all of my clothes. It's always about family. It's always about connection. It's about relationships. And they're the most valuable thing that you can have here, and there's not going to be anything that's more important than when you're leaving this earth than to be surrounded by people that you love and that love you. And sometimes we can't choose our family. Sometimes those are our friends. Those are the people that we love the most. They become our family.
Your community.
And so wherever you can get it, you want to surround yourself by people who value you, that they uplift you, they support you, that they don't judge you, and they encourage you. I mean, there's not anything wrong with, constructive criticism or somebody who tries to help you to make changes that you need to make.
Right.
But that's just part of the inspiration of it. They need to be able to love you for who you are.
Yeah.
And anybody that you're associating with that makes you feel less than valuable, you don't need to be there.
Right.
It's like there's 7 billion people on this earth. And if you're surrounded by somebody who belittles you or criticizes you, or you're just really not enough for them, that's just a message. Mm-hmm. It's a message to move on. So I use this trip not only to see my family and to spend time with my boys and my grandkids and experience the terrain that is a creation that you can't describe, but I also used it to heal and to find peace and to let go of any need to be valuable to somebody who I just was not.
Right. And the most important thing is to find that value for yourself, Exactly.
Now, it helps for me to be spiritual, to believe that I have a creator, a God who loves me, a Father in heaven. And honestly, on that level, that's the most important love, because that's eternal. And so even if you didn't feel love here on this earth, to know that you are valuable I have children. And so each one of my children I love. And I love them for who they are. And it's so different. And I don't love one more than the other. I might love them differently because they're all different.
Right.
But to know that I have a maker that loves me, that to me is most important. But whether you believe in a creator or an afterlife or just an energy or that we're all one, there's not anything. The second most important thing that you can do is to love yourself, right? Because when you love yourself, it doesn't matter what other people think or do. When you're not worried about other people judging you and you value yourself, then you find what's right for you and you're able to let go of the rest. So I used this trip for that. So we flew into Las Vegas and we didn't spend much time there because we were there to see canyons and stuff. It's a really good price from VPS. They owe me money for this, promotion. Allegiant will fly you from VPS to Las Vegas, no stops. And it's a less expensive price. And since we always drive in or fly into Salt Lake City and then drive down to the canyons, this time we figured we'd come from the other end. And so we flew into Las Vegas and we hit the road. And by the time we got to this cabin, I think it was Chromacron Canyons, Comacron or Chromacron, I don't know, the first one. This is the first time I've been there. But we didn't get there until like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we had this little cabin that we're supposed to be able to stargaze out of. It was like a full moon. So it was the night of the 17th going on to the morning of the 18th. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, there's 3 beds in this cabin. They're fairly large, but there's 3 beds. No blankets, no pillows, no toilet, no shower, no sink, no water, and there's a little refrigerator. So we had to kind of bundle up with our clothes from our luggage and our coats and everything that we brought up there. Luckily, we were going skiing, so we had, a lot of warm things to wear, but we didn't sleep a lot. I probably fell asleep about 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we got up about 5:30 because my boys wanted to see the sunrise, And so when we got up, the moon was still out.
Wow.
So we got a picture of the full moon coming, going down between the canyons and the sun coming up behind us. And just saw the red rock and the terrain, and there's a piece out there, the stars when you don't have any, what do they call it, light pollution?
City lights, yeah.
Yeah. When you don't have that, you just see the sky filled with stars. And there's a connection, Mm-hmm. For me, it makes me feel closer to my creator. I feel like, he's right there and he's watching over me and he's helping me to be where I need to be and do what I need to do. And I'm surrounded by people who love me. So we get up at 5:30 in the morning, and then we drive to Bryce Canyon. And Bryce Canyon is a very interesting canyon. I don't know if you've ever seen it live. But when you go to the beach and you get that sandy white sand wet and you drip it, where it piles up on each other and it looks like little dots of, sand.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like the canyons, only it's orange and white. It looks like a what do you call those orange cream pops?
Dreamsicles?
Dreamsicle. It looks like the colors of a dreamsicle. You've got orange and then the cream color. Mm-hmm. And it's all through there. And it looks like somebody just stood over that canyon and piled it up in orange clay and white cream.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when you're looking down through it, there's just nothing like it. It's like you feel like you're close to where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And then we drove up to Draper, stayed the night with my brother, drove up to Snowbird, and the snow was fresh. We had a snowstorm the next night, so we had some fresh powder, layers and layers and layers of snow, and was surrounded by family that we hadn't seen for, some of us, some of the nephews and nieces and stuff I don't see very often, only, once every 4 or 5 years or later or longer. And it was all healing. It was all beautiful to see the sun shining on fresh snow and to see it looks like little crystals,
Beautiful.
And when the snow's in the trees, and you've got it layered on the trees, it looks like the Christmas trees in snow. And to just come out of the desert.
Right. Yeah, that's so wild.
Mm-hmm. So we spent 3 days there, and then we got in and drove back to St. George, Utah. We went to Snow Canyon, and that was beautiful. There was some slot canyons you could go through. There was an area there where there was a volcanic eruption many, many years ago. I don't even know how long ago it was, but there was all sorts of volcanic rock all around.
She brought me back a lava rock.
I did.
And I love it very much.
I love my rock. Anyway, so it was a wonderful experience to go through there and to see the family, hugging each other. And then we went to Zion. And we went to the top of Emerald Pools and got behind a waterfall. And it's just something that you can't really describe. Even pictures. I posted pictures and everything and just let everybody who wanted to go along on this journey with me experience it. And I think that the most important thing of all of this is that we cannot control what other people think or feel.
Right.
The only true things that we can control in our entire life is our thoughts, our words, our body, and that's hard enough. That takes a lifetime. Some of us have to master things, whether it's addiction or whether it's, food cravings or whether it's, whatever it is.
Right.
We all have to master something in our life. And to be working on ourselves when we're here on this earth and becoming the best that we can be is never meant to be selfish. What we need to do is we need to become the best version of ourselves that we can be. Mm-hmm. And our focus needs to be on our bodies and our spirits and our minds and us be in control of how we handle things.
Right. And like how we were talking about earlier, a lot of the times when the things that people are doing to you is more of a reflection on them than it is you anyway. So,
yeah, it's about them.
Right.
They're not even thinking about. Most people don't think about other people when they're doing something. Mm-hmm. Most people are thinking about themselves, how they feel, what they want, who they are, what their desires are, what their goals are, or what their addictions are. Whatever it is that is pulling them to make their choices is about them. It's not about you, Yeah. So if you become focused on yourself and you learn how to become the best that you can be, the people who don't treat you with love and respect, the people who are not uplifting, the people who don't encourage you, it's just your message. It's your message that they don't belong in your life. And that the people who do belong are the ones that can look at you with just love and caring and appreciation. And I mean, we all get irritated with people. We all get disappointed with something that somebody does. Nobody's perfect. We all have to work on ourselves. But love goes a lot deeper than that. Anybody who has children knows that even when your children do things that harm themselves or others, when you love your child, you love them beyond compare. It doesn't mean that you love what they do or condone what they do or any of that's okay, but you love them for who they are, and that's unconditional. In most cases, I mean, we can't all always love unconditionally. Sometimes we just don't want to love anymore, right?
Okay.
But for me, when I look at my children, I love them unconditionally and I love them differently. And I feel like that the way that we love children and the way we love our spouses is a reflection of what God's love is for us in a very simple form. Like if my children was to go out and do something wrong, I wouldn't stop loving them. It may be a disappointment. I may have to walk away from them and say, you know, I can't make these decisions for you. You've got to be able to do what's right for you. But I never stop loving you. And when my children are learning, it's not about their mistakes. It's about their progression. If we're progressing, if we're learning a lesson, if we truly are moving forward, that's what our purpose is, right? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Just taking even small steps in the right direction. And you said it beautifully earlier. I wish I could remember exactly how you said it, but like every day you have the opportunity when you wake up to turn your day into whatever you want it to be, to turn your life around, to have something miraculous happen to you. So, yeah.
And happiness is a choice. And this is something that we do in the field of work that we work on, is we find out that when we can change our perspective on something, it changes your whole entire view, which changes everything that you feel, right? So I can walk out my front door and I can focus on, you know, politics and the things that are happening with that, or destruction in the world, or mayhem, or
everything that's going wrong.
Everything that's going wrong, and that is my world. But I can walk out the exact same front door and I can focus on the sun and the sky and the beautiful grass and the freedoms that I have been afforded, and growing up in the top 2% of the world of privilege, running water and shelter, and know that we're all in this together. And that if something's happening that's scary, it's happening to all of us. You know, the world's going through a lot of stuff right now. But to understand that we're all in this together, that nobody's suffering through this alone, and that we have each other. And if we can focus on happiness and gratitude and all that we have, that will become our world. Right?
Right, exactly. Expressing gratitude is the best thing you can do to...
Right.
Yeah, create the reality that you want.
Yeah, gratitude denotes happiness. You can't truly be grateful and be unhappy. It's like an oxymoron.
That's another Deana-ism.
No, but you can't. You can't truly be grateful and be unhappy.
Right.
Because gratitude in and of itself is representing all that you're happy that you have, right? All that you're happy for. And so learning to let go of the things that aren't working, and know that what we cannot control, and trust that if we're able to give it up, you know, for me, if something's happening in the world that I cannot control, the first thing that I do, if it's beyond my control, is I ask myself, what can I do about this? You know? And if I can't control it, then I go through a process where I literally kind of, and I feel the release, because it's beyond my control. If I'm not in charge, I'm not in charge of the world. I'm not in charge of other people's behavior. I'm not in charge of their attitude. I'm not in charge of, you know, the politicians or the government or, you know, the neighbors, the dog.
Right.
Everything's beyond our control. And when we actually understand that, and we pull all of our energy back in and let go of all the stuff that we worry about and all of the stuff that causes us fear or anxiety, and we focus on ourselves and being what we're supposed to be, then we can also practice trust and faith that if we're doing and being all that we can be, all the rest is going to fall into place. We're all in this together.
All you can do is the best you can do.
Right.
And sometimes letting go is really hard to do, but sometimes it's the best form of self-care too.
It is, because faith is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. And if it is beyond your control, what else can you do but to have faith that the things that are supposed to work out will work out. And most of the time, the things that we worry about, that we try to prevent, they never happen.
Right.
And the things that do devastate us or hurt us, they kind of blindside us. You know, they're unexpected. We can't plan for them most of the time. And so being here today, everybody who's watching this podcast, everybody who's listening to this podcast, they're all survivors.
Right.
They have survived everything that's ever taken place in their life. It doesn't matter whether you're 15 or whether you're 95. Right?
Right.
Anybody who's listening to this has already survived whatever has taken place in their life. And that means that our bodies and our minds and our spirits and our hearts are built to be able to handle whatever's taken place in our life, and we don't have to plan for it. That when it happens, you know, like an accident happens, what do? Well, we take care of it.
Right.
We do what we have to do. Whether we find somebody to help us or whether we take care of it ourselves, we handle it when it happens. And we don't have to spend our life trying to prep for it or prepare for it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being prepared, right? That's the smart thing to do. But beyond that, to live in our day-to-day life and in the present moment is what our life is about. What's the old saying? If you reach the destination, you're at the end.
Oh, yeah.
That's the destination.
Right.
You know, so obviously the journey is the most important part of reaching our destination. Everything that we experience, everything that we live through, everything that we embrace, everything that we learn, that's our journey. And if we can focus on that and enjoying it to the fullest and recognizing that we can manage our feelings and we can manage our thoughts and that we can repair and heal and let go and trust that all things will work out, that nobody's getting out of here alive, that we all are going to leave this earth, you know? So when we lose somebody, they're just ahead of us, right? But to have gratitude that we had them in our lives for as long as we did and to connect to them through love and then do the best we can to experience life and take care of our bodies, take care of our spirits, become all that we can be, because this life has a purpose and we need to figure out what it is and experience all that we can and take care of it, because we'll be there soon enough. We'll be at the other end soon enough.
That's beautiful.
Nobody's getting out of here alive. Right?
Right.
You know?
And I think something else that we've talked about before too, whenever, as far as letting go goes, just asking yourself the question, is there anything that I can do about this? You know, and if there is something that you can do, I mean, do it. But if there's not, then that's
the answer.
Yeah.
It's like, this is beyond my control, so what am I supposed to do? Well, I can't give it any more energy.
Right.
You know, I need to focus on what I can control. And when you work on yourself and you increase your self-love and you become the best that you can be, there's a peace that happens in your life. When you stop focusing on all the things you can't control and you embrace all that's good in your life, there's a peace and a happiness that happens. So trust that if something's taken place in your life, trust that you can not only move beyond it, that you can be in charge of your thoughts and manage your feelings, that there is an understanding, and you can seek that out, like control. Control is a fallacy. To think that you can control anything besides yourself is a false belief, because there's nothing. I mean, it's hard enough, like I said earlier, to control ourselves. You know, to work on ourselves and to master ourselves and to overcome our negative thoughts or our negative behavior or our negative experiences. You know, so, but if we work on that and we practice self-love, second above being loved from a creator, there's not anything more important than to love and value yourself, because when you love and value something, you care for it. You give it the very best and you become the very best. And when you do that, you're not only good for yourself, you're good for everybody in your presence.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever you were talking about peace just a few moments ago, I've got this new affirmation that I keep repeating to myself that could be beneficial to our listeners.
Cool.
But whenever I feel myself in any type of way, I like to remind myself that my peace is my power.
That's nice.
Yeah.
My peace is my power.
So you can use that.
Right. It's free.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways that you can manage your thoughts. And with the work that we do with hypnosis and NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and the coaching part of it, it can completely create a brain switch. Would you like me to give an example?
Yes, please.
Well, I don't want anybody to try this who's, driving or responsible for anything. But if you just have a couple of minutes that you can sit quiet and listen to this, and you're struggling with fears or negative feelings or worries or concerns, something that causes you discomfort in your body and in your mind, and sometimes feels like it's uncontrollable, this would be a good technique for you to try. So what you want to do is you want to breathe in, and you want to close your eyes, and you want to allow yourself to feel all of those feelings. And a lot of times people can find them. They may be, in their throat. They may feel their jaw being tight. They may feel their heart racing. They may feel their stomach butterflies or discomfort. All of the discomfort that you feel when you feel negative thoughts or fears or feelings. So what I want you to do is I want you to feel all that, and then I want to ask you, where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your eyes? Do you feel it in your throat? Do you feel it in your chest, in your stomach, on your shoulders? Where do you feel it? And what I want you to do is allow your mind to just go there and give it a position, wherever it is. It could be right in front of you. It could be big. It could be small. So give it a position, and then I want you to ask yourself, what color is it? And a lot of times a color will come to mind, like it might be a brown or a gray or a red or a black. So give it a color, and then I want you to give it a shape. Tell me what the shape is. Sometimes it's defined, like it's a rectangle or triangle, or it's spiky and round, or it's a blob, like an ink blot. But find the shape, the first thing that comes to mind. Now I want you to ask yourself, or answer this question: is it heavy or is it light? Is there movement or is it still? If it's an event or a situation, is the picture narrow, like right in front of you, or is it panoramic? Just allow your mind to work, and it can be very simple. You don't have to dig deep and have some definitive answer. It's more of a feeling or a picture or a thought that quickly enters your mind. The shape. Is there a sound? A vibration, or is it quiet? So once you've located it, and you've given it a color, and you've given it a shape, and you can feel if it's heavy or light, or if there's a vibration, or if it's still. Once you've got the picture in your mind, if it's a picture, and you can see whether it's narrow or broad, once you've given it all of this descriptive, audio, visual, kinesthetic feelings, then I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, I want you to imagine shrinking it, and pushing it away until it goes so far away it's like a pinhole, and then it disappears. If you have trouble, make sure you locate it. You've got the shape, the feel, the color. Shrink it and shrink it and shrink it and shrink it and push it away until it goes so far away it becomes just like a little pinhead, disappears. Now when you open your eyes,
that was amazing. I love that.
It's like it disappears. Now there's some times that people can't disconnect, and it may mean that it's deeper, and there's a lot of different ways that you can change how you're feeling immediately. But what happens here is when you detach from it, if you can separate yourself just enough from what you're feeling that's devastating or harmful or hurtful or scary, whatever it is, and you can give it a shape and a color and everything, then you can manage it and you can get rid of it. And what happens in that scenario is you go from your left brain, which is if you're feeling anxious or fearful or whatever, it's about the future. If you're feeling sadness or guilt, it's about the past. So if you're able to actually locate this, give it a position and push it away and have it disappear, it not only brings you into the present, which does a brain switch,
so cool.
but you literally can release it. And most people are able to go, oh, I don't feel anything anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. I could physically feel, I was feeling the anxiety around my heart, and I could feel my shoulders tense and everything, but then you told me to push away. I could even feel my body physically relax.
Go, whew.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So that doesn't mean it won't come back. But what happens when you do that is that you actually understand that you are able to manage your feelings, that they're not in charge of you, that you can have control, that you can distance yourself, that you can separate yourself from what you're feeling. And when you get distance, you look at it differently. So I'm teaching that NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming class. And one of the things that they distinguish in this class is that when we feel something, it's right here in us. Like, I feel angry. It's all right here in me. But if I can step back from it and say, I think I'm feeling angry, then now you can look at it a little bit differently. And then if you can step back a little bit further, I think that I feel like I'm getting angry or feeling angry. Now it's almost like it's separate from you and you're able to manage your thoughts. Now you can chunk it up and dice it up and do all sorts of things with it and dissect it and look at it at a distance.
And become an observer. Yeah.
But when it's in us and that's all we feel,
consuming,
we can't, we don't know. We don't even know that we need to learn how to manage it. So with the things that we do with hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming and life coaching, we have an opportunity to change the perspective on a deeper level. And it gives us an opportunity to make changes and separate ourselves from these emotions that we allow to control us and to look at it differently. And when you can do that, you can change who you are or what's affecting you or how you handle things. You just can.
Yeah, I love it. So is there any other big takeaways from your trip that you'd like to share?
Well, it's always an adventure and fun to listen to the conversations. My children, I have 7 children and 14 grandchildren. I took 2 of my sons, which are my second and third, and 2 of my grandchildren. And the songs that they sing, the adventures, the attitudes, the personality. I got a lot of it on video. If you guys want to see it, I'll be glad to send some out. But it's just the whole personality thing, waking up and, gobbling like a turkey in the middle of a still night.
You need to tell that story.
Well, my sons would wake up and they would do this, like all through the house. The entire house, just waking everybody up. Time to get up. And I told them, I decided to do it. And I did this kind of turkey gobble that, was, Anyway, I used to be really good at it.
Yeah.
And I did this years ago. I actually had dated somebody who was a hunter, and he did this turkey call all the time. And I used to have him do it over the phone, And so I kind of picked it up, and they had a radio contest, during Thanksgiving. This was like when I was 17 years old, 16 years old. They had a radio contest, and it was during Thanksgiving, and I called up and did the turkey call and won. So, so anyway, yeah. So my boys are going through the house, and they're doing like Ed TV dancing, like, doing the, and they're, it's time to get up, Then I did it too, and they were kind of surprised that I could kind of hold my own with that one.
Yeah, that's great.
But we all got our stuff, don't we?
I love that story.
But they're a lot of fun. They have a lot of personality, and the fact that, for me, if your children want to spend time with you, and I'm my age and they're their age, and they have their own lives, if they want to spend time with me, I want to be there, because you never know, how long that's going to last. And luckily I feel like with all of my children that will last for a lifetime. But not everybody's so lucky. They don't all have good relationships for whatever reason. You know, sometimes it's, you know, because of us and what we do, and they're products of where they come from, or we're products of where we come from. And so things pass down through generations. But the most important thing that you can do is connect, and that's healing in and of itself. If you don't feel loved, or if you don't feel desired, or you don't feel wanted or valuable, then, you know, find somebody who can love you and does love you and shows you your worth. And don't wait to feel worth from somebody else.
Right.
You know, recognize that you are valuable, that you've been given this life for a reason, and to put yourself into a state of mind that you're going to get everything that you can out of this life, and you're going to be the very best you can be, and you're going to accomplish all that you can accomplish, and you're going to forgive yourself for the things you don't do. Treat yourself like you're your very own best friend, right? So sometimes during hypnosis, I have my clients actually close their eyes and imagine kind of their spirit leaving their body and turning around and facing themselves. You know, so I'll say, imagine that you leave yourself and you turn around and you face yourself and you look at yourself like your very best friend. Like, you know, everything that you've experienced, everything that your heart feels, everything that your mind thinks, and you look at yourself with this love and understanding that nobody else can have. How would you talk to yourself? And a lot of times the conversation is completely different, because our self-talk is, I can't do this, or I'm stupid, or, you know, I need to lose weight, or,
So
you know,
hard on
nobody
ourselves.
loves me. Yeah. So if you're talking to yourself like you're your very own best friend, it's going to be, man, you've gone through so much in your life, and look at you. Look at all that you've survived. You know, love yourself. You're strong, or you're beautiful, or you're talented, you know. See all of the qualities in you that you would somebody that you do love, and tell yourself those things. You know, connect with yourself. Because when you can do that, when you can love yourself, you not only feel better, but you're more attractive to everybody around you. You know, because what's more beautiful than somebody who's confident and loves themselves and appreciates themselves? There's nothing more beautiful.
Right. And when you're filled up with that love, it's so easy to share with other people too. Yeah.
It's easy to be attractive. It's easy to be desirable. It's easy for the right person. But even if you're alone, if you love yourself and you have value and you have worth and you know you have a purpose on this earth, you don't feel the same kind of loneliness. You know? So those are all things that we help people do.
Yeah.
And I had to help myself. I spent the last week, you know, letting go of all that I couldn't control, not trying to ask why to questions that doesn't matter, you know, because if it was right, it would be happening for me. And if it's not right, I don't need to know why.
Well, I'm so happy you were able to go on that journey. And
Me too.
and that was just such an impactful conversation. And, you know, there are so many nuggets of wisdom in here, but since I just feel so inclined to do so, since the episode is wrapping up anyway, if you had one nugget of wisdom that you would like our listeners to take away from today's conversation, what would you like that to be?
Well, I guess that was kind of it. That the most attractive, most valuable, most respectable, most adoring person is the one who doesn't care what other people think, who loves themselves, who values themselves, who creates their own purpose and doesn't wait for somebody else to validate them, and lives to the truest form. And if you are not surrounded by people who love you and have some sort of honor and respect for you, then find somebody who does. You know, find somebody who can encourage you and lift you up and let you know that no matter what you're going through or no matter what you're struggling with, that you're valuable and you're important, you know, because that's the kind of person that you need to be associated with. And there's somebody out there for everybody. You know, there's somebody out there. If one person doesn't see it in you, somebody else will. Somebody else will be able to connect to you and be able to relate to you and be able to, you know, honor and love you. But it's hard to love somebody who doesn't love themselves.
That's true.
You know, if you notice when you're in a crowded room and somebody walks in and they're confident and they feel good about themselves, and whether they stand in a corner and observe or whether they start a conversation, it's always attractive to see somebody who's not worried about what anybody else thinks in the room, as long as they're not being rude or boisterous or,
Right.
you know, arrogant. But if they're just somebody who feels good about themselves and they don't judge themselves or allow themselves to be intimidated or anything by what somebody else says or does, it's just attractive. And the right person will come along that matches who you are.
Right. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you so much for all of that.
Yeah.
And I love you so much. And I value you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, just
And-
the way you are.
Oh, hey, I think I'm going to keep you in my life.
Oh, thanks so much.
Anyway, so the purpose behind this podcast is for healing and to find all the different modalities, whether it's naturology, whether it's nutrition, whether it's massage therapy or chiropractic care, whether it's hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming, whether it's meditation or yoga. There's so many modalities out there that can help you find your center, find some peace, get your body balanced, get your spirit balanced, get your mindset in the right direction, learn about communicating or sharing or whatever it is, overcoming something that's holding you back. Those are the types of things that we're looking for with this podcast. We want to find people that can educate us and give us alternatives, that we can get healthier and stronger and happier. And that's pretty much everybody's desire.
Right.
You know, most people, that's what they're searching for. There are some people who they're just hell-bent on destroying everything around them. But those are the people that, you know, we don't want to be close to. Right. Unless we can help them, right? And so if you have anything that you want to learn about, if you have any questions about hypnosis,
Send them in.
yeah, neurolinguistic programming, we're gonna have more podcasts. They're gonna get better. We are interviewing people from all around, and not just in the United States. We've already got all across the country, but we're also interviewing people that internationally and.
Right.
Yeah, so if there's anything that you want to learn about or somebody that you know that's an expert in their field or has something to offer, just contact us and write in and ask questions and we'll answer them. We'll answer them, you know, for ourselves with the hypnosis or neurolinguistic programming, or we'll get answers for you.
I love it.
So Suzanne is my great helping, loving partner in, not relationship wise. I mean, we have a relationship, but it's a working relationship.
Yeah.
Anyway, but there's not a better balance, and this is an example of the balance. I talk for a living. Communication, relationships or relating to people is what I've always had most of my talent in, and Suzanne, you've got so much talent in broadcasting, interviewing, and your word content, your writing, your verbiage, and you're a great hypnotist. We do some hypnosis together where we do layering, where we actually sit on one side and she sits on the other, and we both talk at the same time during the hypnosis so that you can kind of get some going into your right brain and some going into your left brain and feel the comfort and the soothe and the rhythm and the reinforcement of whatever it is you want to work on. And we've had great success, and we're going to have more. So stay tuned, listen in, and there's other stuff that's coming up, but we're not going to share it all in this.
You can't give away all of our secrets.
It's so hard for me not to give away my secrets.
Well, this has been so much fun, and I just want to say thank you for sharing all of that with everyone, and just let you guys know to be sure to tune in next week because we've got something awesome in store. We've got an astrology forecast out for you guys next week with my very good friend Alwyn, who is so wonderful, and so just make sure you guys tune in for that. That's going to be a really fun episode.
I think she's gonna try and read our charts. I've never had my chart read. I have all sorts of different feelings about that. I feel like there's an influence there, but but I also feel like there's an influence with everything that we experience in our life.
I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. And anybody who's interested in that, or even if you're not interested and you're just curious to see how it works.
Yeah, learn some stuff with us.
This is about the stars and lining up and the energy really of the entire galaxy, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Rise and Shine It's Hypnotime podcast. If you found some value in this episode and enjoyed it, please consider liking, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star review. Most people may not know that interacting with our content and our channel helps us to continue the work we're doing and reach more people. And we just want to thank you again from the bottom of our hearts for being such a loyal listener. And don't forget to tune in next week and every Tuesday for the latest episode of the Rise and Shine It's Hypnotime podcast with Deana and Suzanne. See you next week.